Hello, welcome to this webinar hosted by Mining Network in collaboration with Silver Tiger Metals. I'm with Glenn Jessome, the CEO. Look, there will be a Q&A section, but to run you through the order, we'll do a short presentation with Glenn and then we'll dive into Q&A. I have had some questions come through email already. So click the button and send those through. Glenn, before we dive into the presentation, why don't we just, obviously Mexico is still an important topic in terms of permits. That's going to be the major cause for a re-rating. Where do you think we are at the moment?
Well, we've done a deep dive on this a few times now, Peter, but it just gets better and better. I've changed my view. I think I've been clear to most people. I do a lot of these interviews. AMLO left. Look, let's start. We've been there almost 30 years. We built 3 mines, sold 2 more to majors. Tigre, we will get into production. Ups and downs in Mexico. AMLO's administration was tough, 6 years. No permits. I clearly stated over the last 2 years on many of these videos with you, he would leave and he would not ban open pit mining. He was not a friend of mining, but we survived. We raised over $100 million in bought deal financing, straight up common shares from the smartest precious metals institutions in the world to get ready to build our mine. He's gone. Claudia Sheinbaum's government has been pro-business. Her appointments from economy to environment to mining have been pro-business. They have been communicating greatly with the stakeholders, being us, the investors. She has changed her policy that's listed on the website, negatively to positively on mining. Has reached out to not only U.S. CEOs, as we talked about the last time, for big investment nearshoring in Mexico, but we've now had the opportunity to meet with her team, directly invited. We think that permits are going to be issued imminently, and that's what everybody's waiting for. I think the re-rating for all of Mexico is when these first permits are coming. I thought we would only see amendment permits pushed back first. I'll not be surprised if we're not only getting amendment permits, but we're seeing underground permits and potentially open pit permits. So it's gone as I predicted, but it's gone very, very fast. And I think the great re-rating for Mexico, who makes 25% of the world's silver when there's not enough, is just, it may not even be over the horizon. It may be within clear sight of us. So we're excited, and we're looking forward to all the re-rating and the positive sentiment to come back in, because it's been a tough 6 years. But like I said, we didn't slow down. We kept going, and not all did.
Good, Glenn, thank you. Just on that, before we switch over to the presentation, I know you got a short presentation for everyone, and then we'll dive into the Q&A. You were talking there about amendment permit. Obviously, the permit that you're looking at for Silver Tiger is an amendment permit. So from that, I'm assuming you're thinking it's coming pretty soon.
Look, let's be clear. I consider amendment permits already operating mines that are getting pushbacks and expansions. So let's be clear. My permit is an amendment permit, which makes it a lot easier to issue, but it's for a new operation. So my theory was always amendment, then underground, then open pit. I don't think there's going to be a separation. I think we could get a mishmash of everything. And we're excited. We're just excited it doesn't matter who gets a permit. When there's an amendment, an underground, and then an open pit, Mexico will be back. People have to know that. And it is beaten down so far that it will come back very fast. And that's the real opportunity for those that believe that's going to happen. And they should. There's the investment opportunity for all Mexican miners that are, beaten way down further than they should be.
Good. All right. Well, why don't we flick over to your presentation? We'll keep it short, because I think people obviously want to ask questions and get answers from yourself. So we'll run through that. Obviously, you've had the PFS results recently. Why don't we focus on that and as on Mexico and the outlook for silver as well?
I'm going to go. I agree with you, Peter. I'm gonna go. I've been doing like we just so you know, we've been New York for mining show. I just got back from Dubai 121. While I was there, we had a booth set up at the New Orleans Gold Show. We were in New York this week at a small 121, and I'm getting on a plane in 2 days or 3 days to go back to London for Mines of Money, where I'm going to see you. So you know, we've really been out there telling the story and contemplation of what's coming. But I'm not going to delve into 45 or 50 minutes. I've been all over the place. And so I've been interviewed so many times, and I feel like I'm giving the same update. So my shareholders and those that follow us must be getting a bit tired of listening to me. But anyone who doesn't have somebody new, we're going to go quick and give an overview. But on my website, under the investor section, every one of my interviews I do are there. And boy, you could entertain yourself, not that you want to, for a couple of weeks right now. Listen to everything I've been saying for the last 2 months. So anyone who wants a deeper dive, there's 50, 60-minute deep dives on everything I'm going to shorten up today on the website. So I steer people because I know we have new people here, but I also know we have some of the people that have heard all that. So we got to balance it a little bit. So let's go fast. And then I want to talk. I want questions. I want to hear what people want to ask me live here today. That's really why I'm doing this. Um, Look, it's really simple. Up until 2020, 2021, we were doing a good job. 800 million silver equivalent ounces. The world was making it work. And then the world changed. And then we went green, and we went green energy, alternate energy, and that's really driven. I mean, for example, from 15 or 16, solar demand for silver, and you can't have solar without silver. It's gone from 50 million to 232 and rising. 232 million of 800. So it's really the slide at the bottom. It can't be any clearer. Look at the deficits. They're growing. We got 3, 4, we make 800, 3, 4 on the way to 5 or 600 million deficit. I'm a market-driven guy. I'm a securities lawyer, and I've done an MBA. I know supply and demand. It's going to catch up, and it is already. So very exciting to be someone who's going to put the next big silver mine, we think, in Mexico in production. And look at the top, Mexico, 24% of supply. If you want to invest in silver, if you believe in EVs and solar and all the things that are driving this and batteries, then you need to be in Mexico. It's that simple. So I'm presuming the people listening today are considering doing that and coming back for this great re-rating. So let's tell them what we have. Very quickly, we've been in many different states in Mexico over our almost 30 years there. We're Chihuahua, we built in Durango. This is in Sonora. This is a state that's pro mining. Over 20% of the GDP of the state is from mining, and long history, and we expect it's going to be a long history of mining going forward. We're about 100 kilometers from the U.S. border with El Tigre. We have a beautiful land package. In around 2017, I bought another public company that had the asset. We paid $11 million. We delisted that company, and we took what you see on the screen. Inside that gold box, you've got about 35 kilometers, 30,000 hectares, 25 kilometers of the Sierra Madre Trend. Why we knew we needed it was there's no new discovery. People, for the first time, you've heard me say it, in Mexico, all of the big mines, the ones we found over the 30 years, all the big ones usually are under and around the head frames of all Spanish or American mines. This was very heavily explored for hundreds of years, Mexico. This was not small, it was a mine that produced American mine 1908 to 1930. And you can see it right here, right in the middle of our land package. I've just circled it. 100 million silver equivalent ounce at 2.5 kilos. I'm sure that will resonate with some of the listeners. Cutoff grade 1.2 kilos. If it wasn't 1.2 kilos, they didn't want it. And that was from 100 and a 200 ton per day mill. We knew we had to have it, so we got it. We knew if we drilled under and around it, north and south of it, it would go very well. What we're looking at here on the screen is just that land package we talked about blown up a little bit. I just want people to understand the blue sky component of this. You know, since we've had this, and I told everyone just right now that there's that old mine. We've drilled a little north of that, under and around it, and we've already put on the books over 200 million silver equivalent ounces. And in our PFS we released, the independent geologist said if we just do more drilling here and filling in and under and around again, we'll add 73 to 100 million more in their independent opinion. That's in the PFS, and we have a slide to look at on that later if you want to. That being said, that's that. We have the same trend for 10 to 15 kilometers each way. We mapped and sampled, as you can see. We'll get to that, but this will be a 10, 20, 30-year project, as many of ours have been in the past, a big district. But right now, we got more than enough, built a lovely, lovely mine here, and we're going to get started on that as soon as possible. I think it's important to show people this just to kind of set the stage a little bit for what we're going to talk about. That old mine, what we always do first when we get in a project in Mexico, remember, it's either an old Spanish mine, in many cases an American mine that just closed. And why it closed? People say, why did it close? Well, silver went from $1.33 to 10 cents. And what we have here is those old mining records. Americans just went home. They'd made their fortune over that 20 years. And everything they stopped mining in those bottom levels of that old mine were multi-kilo ore. It wasn't like they ran out. They just went home. And what we did first, what we always do, what you're looking at there, that's the old Tigre mine. That's about 1.5 kilometers. You can see they drifted at the southern end to about 400 meters, 15 levels. There's no drilling. They just drifted on the vein. And what was really incredible for us is all these records. Anaconda, big company, put out of business by Standard Oil in mid-80s. We're in here for 2 summers. They were our neighbors at 2 big mines they had at Cananea and La Carte. And they sent their teams over and they saved all the mining records. You can imagine almost 100 years later, Peter, these things were basically on site. They went to the University of Wyoming. There's a big collection from Anaconda. And that's the big company out of Butte that went for 100 years. They have mines all over the world. We went there. We spent months, digitized all of the data, all the blast samples, underground engineering drawings, stope maps. And we rebuilt the old mine. And as you can see here, it was a beauty. But what's really interesting, if you turn this from bottom up, you can see that black was what they took. They took a tiny little bit. And what we also realized is that you can see where they did their basically development. And before they just dropped their tools and went home, they were going into ore. They just didn't take it because the black is the stope of the ore records they took. We pretty well knew that what we had to do. If you drill a little here, a little under here, at the north and south, down underneath, especially down underneath here, where they didn't touch anything, it would go well. Well, 100 million ounces in the open pit, already 113 million ounces in the underground, just getting going. The discovery of not only those 3 main veins, but a beautiful shale horizon, we'll talk about a little bit in a cartoon, and a big sulfide zone down here, which we're just getting started on, high grade silver and gold and wide cuts through it. I think that this is really, I'll put it in perspective, just the last little picture so everybody can see it, and then we're going to jump right into the PFS. But there's where that's our mineralized domain from our resource estimate, and you can really see here beautifully what it is. If you look down, this is the fancy leapfrog model. You can see all that purple that's in here that I've just circled. That's the open pit. You see the 3 main veins, the Sui, Tigre, and Sites Kelly veins. And you also can see, and people should realize when I show the next cartoon, there's that big sulfide zone, already 750 by 350 by 30, 40 meters wide. And you got to really look close and see some of these little black strips here. That's the shale. We didn't get a lot of shale in this resource. Expect that to really add up as we continue to drill. And we're back drilling now. We should talk about that at what's next for the for the Tigre. This is the last real slide before I jump into the PFS and what we're going to do with the PEA that's coming in the drilling program. But this is such a beautiful cartoon of exactly what El Tigre is. And we're going to use this to explain exactly how the business model works for us in the past and how it's going to work here. In Mexico, and you can see here, we have what's called a flowering epithermal system. Think of a flower. In our experience, it's always a narrow silver vein, very high grade. The majority of it's silver, some gold, and as you go deeper, some base metal. Really tough to mine. And so in our opinion, open pits were always going to be a huge part of mining for Mexico, and we're going to continue on, is you need this big stockwork zone. We call it the open pit. Lower capex, easier. Mineral mining is easier, but it is easier, and low capex. And basically, you use this, you get this in production as fast as you can, and then you use that cash flow to drive underground, because underground development is expensive. It takes time, and so that's how you get out in front of it. And all of our mines we've built have been like that. Big open pit. And look, all the big ones, Pinos Altos, Alamos, Mulatos, all these big mines. That's the textbook for Mexico. There are a few narrow vein mines that have done very well, but this is textbook Mexico mining. And we're not changing the model. Large epithermal system, take the pit, get the money, drive underground. We're going to come back and talk about this in a little bit. Maybe I will talk about sort of the roadmap so we know it. This done, PFS done, we'll build on it. That's our opinion. We'll talk about that. We're going to basically, that's about a 14 to 18 month build period. That's what's next. We're ready to go. Need that amendment to the permit. We'll get the money. We'll build that thing. So we're waiting for that. So immediately, remember, we've already drilled off 100. That's 100 million silver equivalent ounces ready to go. We've drilled off 113 underground, and we're just getting started. We already see another 100 just around where we've drilled, according to the independent geologists. We'll talk about that. So what we need to do, I got to get ready to mine this, because once this is in production and that cash flow comes, I need to have the economic studies done to do that. So I'm going to set the stage for that. So basically what we've done right now, before we get the PFS, we're back underground drilling. All my drilling, long holes, were from surface. We discovered not only the veins, a shale zone, 10, 20 meters of multi-kilo ore. Our deepest holes, just discovering before we stopped drilling it, was this big sulfide zone. I think the first hole through was 40 meters of a kilo. Incredible. It's already 750 by 350 by 30, 40 meters wide. We don't want to drill this. There was 600-meter holes. So we're set up here now in the underground. We've quietly got underground. We are miners. And the drill will start is turning. I think it's today. Don't quote me, but it's supposed to be tomorrow. And we're going to drill short 25, 50, 100, 150-meter holes to start delivering more ore to add to that 113 million. What's that for? Great. People love high-grade silver results. We're going to show them that. And basically, but that's so that I can deliver early next year a PEA, preliminary economic assessment, so people understand. Do the MRE, the mineral resource estimate, then a PEA for the open pit as an example. Last fall, we delivered both of those, and then right back to drilling and more definition, and then you deliver a PFS. That's where we are with the pit. So what will happen first half of next year, 2025, with this continued drilling, great high-grade wide drill results, PEA, upgraded MRE, will add more ounces, and then hopefully by end of year, early 2026, the PFS, which I hope to be able to build on. And by then, if the plan works, I should be close to production here and use that at, I think, spot prices today. That pit generates 45 to 50 million USD free cash flow after tax. Drive that into building this and developing it. It's always been the plan. One thing I'll show you before we talk about the update on the PFS, so everybody can see, we walk here right now. It was very important while we were doing this that I brought in the underground development team, our mining team, and basically get back into the old mine. And so just so people can see what that looks like, and I think it is important that we show that, is we're right back in the guts of the old Tigre mine now. This is a commercial opening. That's kind of equipment we're in it over there with. We're mucking this thing out. The old timers left this a beautiful mine. Look at that, 100 years later. Isn't that incredible? We can go through the old mine. Problem with that is it's 2 by 2.5 meters. I can't get, right now I want to get exploration drills in. Someday the ore will come out of here. So a picture's worth a million words, as they say. And what you can see here is that's the old opening. We just brought in our underground developers, and I wanted 5.5 by 5.5. And so basically they just blast it. It's dynamite, 1 meter or 2 at a time. And now we're about a half kilometer in the old mine, and it looks like this gorgeous 5.5 by 5.5. But that's where all the ore will come out of the underground. We get that in production in a couple of years, and we will do that. But right now, that's where the drill rigs have gone in. And back to my little cartoon before we talk about PFS, so you can really see. So our drill rig's right here right now. That's the opening. We're right, in the middle of the ore, 125 meters from the shale zone, 100, 150 meters from actually shorter to some of the sulfide. And those are going to be holes that are going to add up pretty quick. One drill will turn to 2, will turn to 3, and we will just continue into next year developing further into the underground and making, more drifts so we can get more exploration done from underground. Leaving that alone, everybody knows the model and the plan. Let's talk about this. This is the beautiful study that just came out. We're not getting our due on this. I'm going to give you the highlights on it. Because it's been tough in Mexico. People are waiting for that first permit. We think, when you see any kind of news, you saw the move we made, in September, October, when Claudia started to talk positively, Sheinbaum. Well, permits are what everybody's waiting for. They got their toe in the water. Those permits come. Look out. I think Mexico's re-rating very, very hard. So let's talk about the study. We did our study, and people have to realize at 2150 gold and 26 silver, that's under spot. Now the prices are down a little bit. A week or so ago, we were way under, but we're still in a good under. So that being said, what does the study indicate? People have to understand what a PFS does and why we think we'll be able to build on this PFS. I'm going to show you that. And then we're going to jump out and take some questions and wrap up with, maybe I'll talk a little bit about what the drill program looks like, and then we'll talk about, questions. NPV is the net present value of the project. At these prices, discounted, as I have said, it drives just the pit, not the underground, 222 million USD NPV. An IRR of 40% and a payback of 2 years. Payback's very important for those that are going to lend us the money to build this thing. I want to impress that at spot prices last week, because I have those numbers in my head, this NPV is 350 million USD. The payback is 1.5 years and the IRR is almost 60%. Those are incredible numbers for a mining project. Why? Look at the CapEx. A lot of mining projects, 86 million. That's a 12% contingency in there, Peter. That's US. A lot of the projects that are coming online now are 300, 400, 500, 600 billion CapEx. Remember, that drives your payback period and that drives your NPV down because that CapEx has to be factored in. So this is why I always said low CapEx is your mining, and I'll show you how we do that in a minute, drives our return over. And remember, this is 10 years of the mine life for the pit. We only got 60% of the about 40 million of the 60 million tons we've delineated because we optimized the pit. This pit will continue on after that. We'll step back, we'll add more ounces, but this is only 40 of the 60 million tons that are available to us. And for 10 years, at these prices, it drives $318 million USD free cash flow after tax over those 10 years. At spot prices last week, because that's what's in my head, that was $525 million, 50 million USD per year. That's why payback goes down to 1.5 years, and then you're just making money. You've paid all the capital back. And remember what I want this money for. I want this money to drive underground, build the underground mine, get the development done as fast as possible. So you're underground, you build on this. I'm sorry, your open pit, you build on this, and then the PEA, PFS coming next year, I build the underground. So it's a two-part process. One thing is very important, and we become a 5 million ounce silver producer out of the gate. I want to tell you a little something here about valuation. We're going to save that for the end, okay? So I can get people's attention on who our peers are. 5 million. When we get the underground, it'll be roughly the same. So call us a 9 to 10 million ounce silver producer. We only make 800 in the world. This is material right now, and I don't see any way it's going to increase much. Basically, in a couple of years down the road, I'll talk about who our peers are that are doing that in their evaluation. Exploration, development companies crushed across the board. You know that. We'll talk about that when we're done. I mean, we're just not getting the valuations with the price. But the companies that make it to production in this price environment are getting rewarded incredibly well with multi-billion-dollar valuations. We'll talk about that at the end. Last thing is, why can I fund this on the basis of a PFS and not a feasibility study? The guys did a great job in that the first 3 years of ore in the starter pit are basically going to be proven. So the bank can hang their hat on that, and on that, what is really at spot prices a 1.5-year payback. Those are two big things they want to see. Proven ore until they're paid back. We've given them double at spot prices last week. I just haven't done the calculation what it is. This is down a little bit. That being said, if this is a little table for those that think the price is going to go up. And I think a lot of people do think the silver prices and gold price is going to go up here on silver, just on demand. If you look at basically a sensitivity table, this was last week, that's where those numbers come from I talked about. $38 silver, 3,000 gold, and NPV, excuse me, goes from rushes up to 608 million after tax cash flow, 60, 70 million a year you're making. So price is very important, but even on the downside, this thing makes a ton of money, which is nice. It's a really nice thing to have. So look at the sensitivity table. It's in our verified presentation. I'm going to show you the pit. This is just quick open pit education Mexico 101. So people should know what they should look at when they're investing in a company that's talking about an open pit. There's our overall pit, 2 kilometers, benches of ore about 150, 175 meters, goes down to 250, 300 meters. We have a guy going to build this that I hired, and I've talked about it before. He built all the big mines for the last 15 years before he joined me for a company called Argonaut. Big open pit mines in Mexico. He drilled them, he developed them, he permitted them, and he ran them. Those are massive underground open pit mines. 1,000 guys working for him. He's now got the keys to build Tigre. I feel very comfortable. His name's Francisco Alvarez. But the mines he was building, open pit, were 5-to-1 strip and about 2.25 to 0.35 grade. That's a great project. That means you got to move 5 tons of rock to get a ton of ore. Boy, when we saw this pit, we knew we had something special. The overall strip is 1.7 to 1. So not even 2 tons of ore for rock you have to move to get a ton of ore. And the overall grade, 0.5. I'm talking gold equivalent here. I can't say it's a high grade pit. That's not such a term, but we consider it a high grade pit for Mexico. So we like to talk like that. That's the overall pit, but here was what was really made us be able to get to production now very quick. We've only had this from 17, Peter. We're talking now, what is it? 24. Okay. Average, it varies, but the average number out there, people are saying from first drill hole to an operating mine, it's 15, 16 years. People don't understand how long it takes. It's really hard. And the numbers on getting across the board exploration companies that start with their first drill hole that become commercial, we've done it serially in Mexico, is 1,000 to 1. So we feel pretty good about where we are with this after 7, 8 years and maybe a year and a half from being in production. We've gone quick. How we're going to get there quick with this PFS is there's your starter pit. There's that first 3 years of production. And what really the mountain, incredible. Like we have a 0.3 to 1 strip, almost 0 strip. I'll show you why that is. It's really simple. You can see the deposits right on the side of the mountain. You just drive in without blasting any of the mountain away. And you start hauling ore out and putting it on the heap leach. We'll talk about that in a minute more. And the grade overall here, because this is where the old the 3 veins I talked about came together. Higher grade, kind of like the mine was underground, the old timers went to 0.7. So almost 0 strip and 0.7. And that ore is red. That means it's proven that the bank can hang their hat on it and lend me the money. So pretty incredible. I want to show somebody. So that's our first 3 years. It was really important because that allows us to get to the point we get the money now and build it. And we're comfortable building on that. This is really as simple as it gets and why heap leach. Now, this is a little bit educational for everybody, why we have always said open pit would not go away in Mexico. There's your pit. There's your overall pit. You see that 2 kilometers. You can see where the first 3 years of production are. We kind of drive right in the mountain because, that's a cutaway. It's just your strip here is air. So really what you do is you blast it. You put it in large mining trucks. We've all seen those big yellow ones, the giant tires. You haul it to a 3-stage crushing unit. You crush it to 3/8, no agglomerations needed. And basically you stack it with grasshopper, big conveyor belt system. You stack it on the leach pad. You hit it with the chemicals, and basically it leaches the gold and silver out. It goes to a Merrill Pro, and we create a doré burr, a mixture of gold and silver. That's why it's simple. There you can see here, this is the waste pile for the rocks over here. There's your pools. And you can just imagine you're at surface, you're mining at surface, you're digging, you're blasting. How easier that is than being 1, 2, 3, 4 in some mines, a kilometer underground to haul that ore out. So that's why we always were comfortable that open pits would survive in Mexico. So far, so good. We can't wait to build this. It's going to be easier and it's going to generate amazing cash flow for the amount of CapEx we have to put in. So check the box on that. I do want to show you really a little bit about our drilling, finish up on the conceptual section, and then talk a little bit about our investors and our peers. And then we're going to come back and answer some questions. I don't want to take too long here. I think if we look here, if I can just find it where my drilling is, I'm sure I can. Here we go. I think this one is a great one to show you on. So you can see we've now, this is the drilling, and this is started. I think it'll be January at least before we see results. By the time we get to mass date, it's almost December now. Our drill rig is here, and we start drilling short holes that are going to hit the sulfide zone. We're going to hit all three of the veins from underground, and we're going to come over. We're going to drill the shale zone, as you can see it here. Also, remember when you're underground, you can also drill up. So all kinds of optionality. That's begun. One drill will be two, into three, and that's not going to stop, Peter. We're going to be drilling here for the next 10, 20, 30 years. I had to stop to finish the pit. I had 3 or 4 drill rigs up there for the last year to get the PFS done. They're back, and we're getting back underground. And you can expect that, we're going to basically put some exciting. There's the long section there. You can just see we're here right now. We're just going to drill here. But remember, this is all, we've put scout holes up here now 3, 4 kilometers. We'll just go there in time. It's all mineralized and going south all open. So that being said, I think something that's important is track record and who supplied the money to get us to here. It wasn't easy with AMLO doing what he did for 6 years. He wasn't exactly friendly to mining. He was talking about banning open pits and all of it, and didn't do any of it, which is we thought he wouldn't. We don't think the mining economically works across the board with open pits in Mexico, and I think that most people in Mexico understand that. I think including the government. That being said, we raised 100 million during AMLO's administration, all bought deal financing, straight up common shares at good valuation. I like big syndicates pretty well. Every one of the big banks that do institutional investment from the investment banking side were in our syndicates. The last one we did was led by BMO. That's the top of the heap as far as basically investment banks for mining across the world. And it's quite a process to be accepted to have them lead your bought deals. And then that 100 million was given us to by Steve Landed, Franklin Advisor, Franklin Templeton. Joe Foster Van Eck, a legend within the mining space. He was in Mexico on the mountain with me last May. First time he'd gone to see a project in Mexico in 10 years. So he's very happy to have Joe there. I think they own 9.9%. Sprott Asset Management, Maria Smirnova has been a huge supporter. Well north of 10 million share ownership in the company. Merck Investments, Peter Melitas and his team out of San Francisco, huge shareholders of the company. They gave us the lion's share of the 100 million. Over the last 6 years to get to work, get that mine ready to build. We kind of knew during the period that we weren't going to get permits. It became obvious as the administration went on, but we knew we'd be better on the other side, and it looks like we were right. Well, I'm saying we were right. I'm not going to say it looks like it. We can see that's coming. Permits are coming. And we did and got where we are right now. And where are we right now? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what our peers are doing. We're going to become very quickly on the basis of that open pit. Once we get the permit amendment, we're going to be a very large 5 million ounce out of the gate producer. And then I'm going to use that cash flow to drive underground. Remember, I'm already permitted for this underground, 800 ton per day. I have the mill, we're ready to go. But this is the right way to do it, this first. I could have started here. It's just not the right business plan for Mexico. You want this, you want that cash flow to do this, and then you can go really fast underground. It's been our model. It is the model for Mexico. For these large epithermal systems. So then we'll drive underground. Once this is in production, I have already caught up with a PEA, an updated MRE with more ounces underground, and a PFS, and then we'll build this. And let's just say this is going to deliver 5 million silver equivalent ounces roughly. This should be, look, this is a guess. We haven't done the work yet, but 4 to 5. That would be our guess from an 800 ton per day mill, which we have and are permitted for. You're a 9 to 10 million ounce producer. Okay, who are the 9 to 10 million ounce producers that are our peers? I mean, you're familiar with some, Peter. Think about it. And that's the step from us being a 100 million market cap company to my peers being 2 billion market cap companies with the same production profile. Silvercrest, M&A starting in Mexico right after the election. You saw it. It just came. I was fortunate enough, in October to be in New York, invited to hang out with only a handful of silver producers. You can count them all in one hand. The big producers, Core were there, First Majestic were there, blah, blah, blah. And we were invited as one of the big, legit developers that will be in production to be there. And we start talking about all the projects. So you know who everybody's there. I mean, you got Core talking about buying Silvercrest 95 kilometers south of me, making 9 million silver equivalent ounces for $2 billion. That just happened in September. You've got First Majestic there presenting their president that, they bought about half of Gatos, about a 9-10 million ounce silver producer for $1 billion. They bought a half. You look at Aya, who are producing 2 million silver equivalent ounces. Great company. Know the management, Benoit's team well, very good operators. They were there with us in New York. And, they're doing 2 and they're expanding to 7. They have blue sky with their project, just like we do across the trend for, as I showed you, 25 kilometers of the trend. And they're valued over $2 billion market cap. So we know what we have to do. It's get this in production. And that's where we get out of that Lassonde curve. And I think everybody should understand that Lassonde curve. And I don't know if you've really talked about it. We can, if people have questions, but I don't have it on here. I thought I had the slide. We're at the very bottom of that. You have the big increase like we did in exploration and discovery. And then you go all the way down as you do all your economic studies. And then you go all the way back up, well past where you were in exploration. And that's where we are. We're on the way up. That permit lights this on fire amendment. And we can't wait to start approaching, and working to approach when we get in production, the valuations that our peers have. And they truly are our peers because that's who we will be. So I don't think I think I can come out of this now, Peter. Maybe we do some questions, or should I stay in here in case there's something I need to refer to for the questions? What do you think?
No, you feel free to pop out of it. We can always pop back
I
in.
think so. Yeah, I think we'll just get out of this thing. I'm just tired of the whole 9 yards. Okay. All right. There we
Uh,
go. All right. How's that sound?
no, thank you, Glenn. Look, just to begin with, I wouldn't mind talking. You mentioned at the very beginning there, you and your group have been in Mexico for 27 years, coming up to almost 30 years,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
Um, Look, you've told me once in the past, but I don't think you really have spoken too much about this. I wouldn't mind just a bit of background as to what were the projects, what were the companies, what happened.
Uh, so the group has been led forever by a gentleman named Brad Langell, and Brad is just very, very fortunate to be able to call him a business partner of mine. Basically, the first project the group did in Mexico was Ocampo on the base of that asset. The company, I think, don't quote me on these things. This is off the top. It was a long time ago. I think they took that over a $2 billion dollar market cap in the NYSE, a big producing mine. It ended up in Alamos's possession. And I think Alamos after that sold it to Carlos Slim. And I still think, don't quote me, but it still may be in production. These are big, long epithermal systems that were pit and underground. El Cubo was the next mine the group put in production, I think around the same time or shortly after the Ocampo mine. They mined it for a long, long time. That was ended up being sold in the end after our group had headed for a long while to Endeavor Silver. Brad Cook was still alive then. What a wonderful guy he was. And basically, they had that mine. I think they've since transferred it to somebody else, but I don't know the history on that. Nairi was the next deposit. Nairi was a deposit that basically the group drilled off and a beautiful asset. And that was sold to Capital Gold, and Capital Gold on the base of that asset was sold to Alamos, but we weren't involved with that transaction. And I don't mind mentioning we have the group has same technical team that I have the great thing to be able to work with, and it's common knowledge. I'm a securities lawyer. My skill set is building public companies. Go Gold is one that we have in for the group, a very successful company. Feasibility study now on Los Ricos and in production asset in Parral. And I think, don't quote me, but I should know this better. I'm very active with that management team. I think about $100 million in the bank, and just getting ready to get their permit and get building. And of course, Silver Tigre, I've told you a lot. So it's been quite a history, and feel good about what we feel good about is you think about the numbers, Peter. It's 1,000 to 1. It's 1,000 to 1. Anybody can go do the research. That's what it takes. People think that from the first drill hole, not just guys pushing around where they've drilled and they've done enough exploration to qualify, 1001. So we've been pretty good at this. I think good management teams, they get the capital. You can see the type of investors that follow us, but you also learn as you go what very quickly could be a mine. We're not just going to take Greenfield's thing and start poking holes. When we looked at El Tigre as an example, it was a mine. It was a mine that the old timers scratched around on. Great mining method, went underground. They had as good method as we had then. They didn't even drill, they just followed the vein. Got 100 million silver equivalent ounces at 2.5 kilos. What would that be worth today? Like just think about that's incredible. I think that's about the number of ounces at 600 or 700 grams that Silvercrest had. I mean, that's a big and high grade. So yeah, we pretty well knew it wasn't a big stretch to think we were going to be able to build a mine under and around that old head frame.
No, it definitely helps when it's brownfield rather than greenfield on the
Absolutely. We're
probability.
always brownfields. We're always brownfields.
Yeah. Look, obviously, based on that, you just spoke about some of your history there, where obviously most of these companies you got up to construction or production state, and then eventually were sold. Is that the plan with Silver Tiger?
You know, I get this question so much. And listen, I'm going to tell you our philosophy, and this comes right from the very top, from all the way back 27 years. My partner I talked about earlier, he's very clear. Listen, selling a company, a mining company, is not a business plan. Okay. And we see guys out there with, 5,000 meters and they've got a district and they're going to sell it. It's hundreds of thousands of meters and it's a permitted project that gets sold that maybe the big guy wants to build it differently than you would. So we always set out from the very beginning. Basically, we first drill hole to the economic study is the whole journey, then permit it and then build it. That's the business plan. Our board controls that. You don't control other people's boards. Now, we sold assets. You've heard about it. I even forgot to mention that, Go Gold sold an asset 3-4 years ago now that basically was standard gratuitous to Agnico. They acquired the asset for 9 million. They spent 9 million on it, and 2 years later they sold to Agnico. It was over 100 million USD all in. So it does happen. It's happened to us many times. Never planned. Always just kind of happens and we don't think about it. Of course, we're being watched in Mexico by you saw what we were hanging out with last week. It's not like nobody's aware of us, but it certainly is not my business plan to sell it. Think about that. Singular market cap, and look when I get to where my peers are and look at their market cap. I can't tell you I'm going to that market yet, but I can tell you we're going to make the same amount of money, and then we're going to, if we put this in production, we're going to produce the same amount of silver. So that's all I'm focused on right now.
Okay, good. Look, why don't we switch over to some of the Q&A? I've had some emails come through prior to the webinar. We've had some Q&A come through whilst you've been doing the presentation. Look, I've had a few questions actually come through via the Q&A button and email, really on permits, and we obviously thought that would definitely be the case, right? So one of the first questions is, if Mexico government doesn't, God forbid, but if they don't give that permit for Silver Tiger, the phase 1 open pit operation, what you mentioned already earlier there in the presentation that the underground's permitted already, right? Does that then turn into plan? Do you then just go straight into the underground?
If that's not going to happen, but we're going to make believe world here. If that happened, we could easily. We're not a one shot. What is it? A one shot home? What the word is? Yeah. Because the underground is we could immediately go there, permit it. We've already bought 2 years ago the mill out of New Brunswick in Canada. Mine was closing, beautiful mill, almost new. We destructive tested it. We shipped it all the way to not only Mexico, it's on the mountain now. You can rest assured when I talking about a PEA coming out early next year, all the engineering for that mill's done. It's done with a bone, all the engineering. We just got to get some more drilling done, do some more metallurgy. That's all going to be done with a bone. We've been working on that in the background while we did the pit. So basically, we could easily transition to underground. 2 ways we would do that is we'd have to get out in front with some development. We would do that, and the capex on. Look, I'm throwing a number out there so people understand. If we looked at rough engineering, it's not a PEA, and I can't be held to it. But we own the mill. To put that mill and assemble that mill flotation would be 26, 27 million USD. The mill is not the big thing. That's not an expensive thing. It's getting underground and getting, 8 or 10 faces open to fill that mill. And we would do that. We would develop underground and we would get that done. But remember, Peter, what people don't pay much attention to, we do. We have 1 million ounces of tailings at a gram at surface already mined. It's beautiful stuff. That'd go right through your mill. We have about 2.5 to 3 years of that 800-ton-per-day mill in ore supply, a big chunk of it from the old waste rock that got hauled out of the old mine. That's 300-400 grams. Go back and look at how Silvercrest went into production for those that want to follow. Go look at their production profile. As they became a high-grade 1,200-ton-per-day underground, for the first number of years while they did their development and got the plan working well, they relied on that waste dump from that old mine, which was a smaller mine than Tigre, at a little lower grade, and they ran that through the mill. So we have all kinds of optionality to go underground, but I'm telling everybody, not right now. We're very close. That pit, the business model is get that pit easier, lower capex, huge cash flow, drive that in the underground, and then you open up 10, 15 faces and you fill that 800-ton mill with that high-grade vein, that beautiful 20 meters shale zone, and that sulfide zone. Boy, stay tuned for results from that. That's a really special thing. And those are new things we've never seen, the shale and the sulfide in any of the deposits we've done in Mexico or in any other ones. This is a really special wide zones of mineralization. Old timers didn't touch it. This could be a real exciting thing as we get down there and development in that. So yes, absolutely we could, but we're not going.
All right. Following on from that, because I think a few people might have missed the beginning when we were talking about permit, but you say we're not
Sure.
going because obviously you're assuming that these permits are coming through. What gives you such confidence in that?
Look, I could tell you that basically, number one, no changes were made by the prior government. She's come in and taken off of her policies. We all saw that in September, or no, I guess it was October, when she removed the threatening wording that was AMLO she had carried over, or the party carried over, that was gone. All of her reach out and her new government she's put in place, pro business, economy, environment, and mining. And they have been proactive. Not only have they met with American CEOs looking for huge, and said clearly, your foreign investment is safe. I need a lot more. That's us. Mining, we need foreign investment is safe. We need a lot more. And they've been proactive. They've met with Canadian CEOs. We've met with them. And basically this, the message is permits are coming. And, I really think that, the messaging we're getting is that open pit permits are going to be part of the mix. I said clearly up until about a month ago, I think I talked about it on one of your interviews, I didn't think we'd have permits this year. And then I started to think, and I'm not just making this up, this is from everything I see, and a lot of it, some of it I can't talk about, but from my side, and then I changed very clearly a while ago. I said, you know what, we're going to see amendment permits. Currently operating mines get pushbacks, expansion. Okay. I've changed again. And then I thought we would see maybe, and I said, maybe we get some of those this year and then underground and open pit next year. I've changed so quickly in the last couple of weeks that I will not be surprised if we get before end of year. Can't guarantee it, but I'll not be surprised. We could get amendments to existing mines. I think we could see underground permits. And I think we could see open pit permits. See what happens. Any of them, it doesn't matter who gets those permits. The whole industry is going to re-rate. So people are listening and they believe that, and they see the values that our shares are trading for across the board in Mexico. The opportunity is immense because we will not have to do anything. We'll just wake up one morning and it will be a good day.
No, it's going to be a frenzy when
it will be.
It will be.
25% of the silver world. If you want silver, you got to be in Mexico. It's no choice.
Yeah, but everyone's been holding their breath, waiting for the first permit to be delivered. So, like you said, even if it's you,
no, it's funny how when she changed her policy and people saw that quickly, there was a little bit of that was the smartest people getting in. The smartest people get in, and they got their stock a little nice and cheap. They put the percent, said, "We believe it's coming." Everybody else is just putting their toe in the water. Not even their toe; they're just feeling the water. But we think permits are going to just make them jump right in, and we'll see. So we'll stay tuned and look. If it's not before this year, it'll be early next year. That's what we think.
Okay. Look, a few more questions coming through. Someone's asked about capital raising. How much money in the bank at the moment are you in need to do any capital raising anytime soon? We have spoken about this before, Glenn, but
I think it's, if you look at my financial statements, I haven't press released yet, but you know, we're very successful at recovering our VAT tax. And I think everybody knows what that is. Value-added tax takes a long process and a long time. And I will put some more information out on this, but in the financial statements, you can go see it. It's not anything that's, you know, non-public. We've collected quite a bit of VAT tax, and I think that our current balance, roughly, I'm giving a ballpark, our current cash balance, I think, is somewhere around $7 million. So no pressure. I'm certainly not going to build a mine with $7 million. I think everybody knows that, but I can execute my plan very well right now, which is we're underground drilling again with the first drill rig. We're going to get some results. Could I drive all the way to PEA early, you know, first half of next year with the money in the bank? Absolutely. That's a bench study. And as I've said, don't quote me, the vast majority of the work, I almost said a percentage and I couldn't say that, of the work for that PA is just being fine-tuned. Some more drilling, get it ready, and then we'll get that report out. So in a good position. Let's just see how the market comes, but that's where we sit right now. It's nice to have money in the bank. And I told everyone that I would get to September with this PFS delivered still with $7-8 million in the bank. And, you know, we're right on there. We're right on there. And the other thing is, remember, it's almost 2 years ago that we did our last bought deal financing of $18 million. It will be that 2 years in February. Boy, have we made that money move and go a long way. And people should recognize that. We drilled 100,000, more than 50, 60,000 meters. We delivered an big MRE last September, a PEA in November of last year, and now PFS. And that's not with a raise for almost 2 years. So we're pretty proud of that.
Okay. Just following on from that, I remember you talking a little while ago about conversations already starting with some of the banks in terms of debt financing. How are those conversations? Are they waiting for permits, or are those conversations progressing?
You know, any term sheet I get from a debt provider will, of course, have a condition precedent that I have the permit amendment, so I can build it. But I have told them all that time is of the essence, and multiple are doing their work, and basically I've told them by 1st of January, in January, I'd like an indicative term sheet subject to permit. And I have also told the audience, and it is also that I think on the basis of our short payback period and that we have 3 years of proven ore, that I would be able to get the banks to do this work and to finance on that basis. So we already have received one indicative term sheet. So I guess I was right on that, and I will try to have as many as I can in hand so that I have optionality into next year.
Good. All right. It'd be nice to see some competition on the debt there. Another question coming through. The underground mine. So when you begin adding the underground mine into the overall production, do you expect to need to expand the mill that you have already? And if so, how much by?
No. So remember, for the open pit, there's no mill. Okay. So everybody got to remember, I think I explained that just in case everybody.
Yeah, you're doing leaching.
Blast it, put it in a big truck, crush it in 3 stages, 3/8 size, conveyor it out to the heap leach, hit it with the chemical. It leaches, gold and silver comes out to a Merrill-Crowe, make a doré bar, a big, bar of gold and silver, which goes off to the refinery, be separated out. So there's no mill there. The mill we have on site, we've already purchased, came out of New Brunswick 2 years ago. It's on the mountain. Engineering's done, 800 tons per day, and we're permitted for 800 tons per day. That is the perfect size to start with here. That's exactly why we have that. Some of our peers like SilverCrest started at 1,200. We think that for us, it's 800. We get that in production. And then if you go look at all the big underground mines in Mexico, they started at 1,000, then they transitioned to a 2,000 ton under day operation to 3,000. You need to get development done. You do not want a hungry mill. And we think 800 tons per day is the perfect size. That's what we'll build. And remember the plan. It's going to, let's just make it so people can understand timing. I'm making this up. I get a permit, I'm all ready to go by March of 2025. I got the money. It's 15 months to build. It says 18 in the study, but we do it a little quicker. I'm making this up. Now we're talking summer of 2026. I'm in production and you see the numbers at spot prices. I'm making a lot of money. The cash flow is great. I pay that back in a year and a half or something like that. The capex, we were talking about spot prices today. And then you have to pay it back right away. I start dumping the capital in. By then I've got a PA and a PFS on the underground. I'm ready to go. It's an easy, build. We might even over the next couple of years as we're drilling underground, do some more development, get into that ore, money allows, and get out in front of it. And then that would be about a 12-month process after from start to finish to get some of that underground using some of the surface ore, the waste rock, the tailings. So that's the timing. Look, if the world became a really great place and capital was available, could we build both of them at the same time? Could it be in construction on the open pit and just say, let's get going on this underground? Sure, we could, but that's not how I have it scoped out in my mind. I see 5 million ounces coming from the underground, from the open pit, put that on the books, and then use that money to add the other 4 or 5 million from the underground and become a 10 million ounce producer. So in the perfect scenario, summer 2026, a pit's spitting out money, I'm making this up. This is my game plan. I can't guarantee it. And then a year from there, summer 2027, that's not a long time in the mining world. I could be a 10 million ounce producer. Go look at my peers.
Good. Look, we're running out of time, but there are a few more, so I'll be very.
I don't mind answering them if people want to stay and listen.
In terms of financing package, how can you sort of ensure that share dilution is minimized?
So we're going to try to get as much debt as we possibly can. And then I'm going to hopefully raise the equity. Remember where I'd be raising the equity, the lion's share of that equity for the build. Mexico will be fully back on. And I will have the permit that many people said I was never going to get. So we think that there's going to be a massive re-rating of the company. Look, people can go look at the share price just on exploration. We were, what, 75 cents? I don't remember the exact high. I'm not saying we're going to scream back there, but we will re-rate very, very quickly, I think. And we'll look at getting as much as we can and raising, we can't raise the money until I have the permit. So we'll have re-rated and Mexico will well have re-rated. So let's do it at the highest possible value we can, but we do need the capital to build it. But I think if you look at where I am valued today, do your math in your head about dilution, what you think it might be. You can make it up. I can see some scenarios, what I think could happen. And then look at where my peers are trading. Boy, there's a lot of room to create shareholder value, even if we have to dilute a little bit.
Yeah. We'll do this as the last one. In terms of news, so I think you mentioned that obviously the assays are going to be back from the sulfide zone. One of the commentators here obviously is expressing quite a lot of interest in that zone. Maybe just worth reminding everyone what the grade and what the intercepts look like before and what
that's sulfide zone, and that's a great question because anybody who's watched Mexico knows it. They say, "Wow, look, open pit, 100 meters every gram. Oh, it's unbelievable." We were drilling that more. The narrow vein. Look at our vein. The drilling we've had in the veins as good as anything you've seen. I mean, we drilled up to 87 kilos every year, multi-kilo. It's narrow vein silver. It's hard to get. That shale zone was incredible. I want to talk about that. Pay attention to that shale zone. That's property wide. And what that was in a quiet volcanic period. This was all an underground ocean, not underground ocean, an ocean. And all of that, whatever they call it was in the water. This, that, and the other thing settled under pressure and created a shale which recovers amazingly. Our bottle rolls have like 98% recovery, 20, 30 meters wide. And when that vein, silver vein, went through it, just like it blew out into the great plumbing and surface for that 100, 150 meter pit, we had a blowout 10, 20, 25 meters into this shale of high grade mineralization, multi-kilo. That we've drilled that for 5 kilometers. We just haven't got enough drilling in it to get a lot of it on the books. Do not pay attention to the shale. And that's new. We thought that was our gift. We'd never seen that before or seen it in another project. And then out of nowhere, a couple of years ago, just before we started drilling for the pit, we got 50 holes, I forget how many, into the sulfide zone. That's off the charts as far as we're concerned. Like, first hole was 40 meters of a kilo. And of course, we thought that the guys had drilled down the structure because that's not supposed to be there. Not supposed to be there. And then as we started separating, we went right to the mountain immediately. We went in to check it. and we could see clearly it was not vein, it was a sulfide. It's a massive sulfide. We don't have that term in Mexico. This is the first time we've seen it, but it's 750 by 350 by 40 meters wide. And we just stopped drilling. It's open each way. And, on average is I don't know what the 700 grams. Many of the core of it's multi-kilo hits. So yeah, can't wait to get the drill through that and start stepping out. And that's going to add ounces like crazy as we get a couple of drill rigs down there.
Good. And just to confirm,
And
we're
timing
expecting
on that,
that.
don't expect, we're drilling now. Like Mexico will shut down December 10th to 15th, and they take a big holiday there for Christmas as a central or southern a very Catholic oriented country that loves Christmas and Easter, big celebrations. So, and they won't come back until the 10th or so. So we're not going to have results of that before Christmas. We're just not. So you'll stay tuned for those, but then they'll be coming in steady, and I hope steady for the next 10 or 20 years.
Nice. Glenn, thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who has stayed on and asked questions and engaged with this. Glenn, where can people, if they have any other questions, how can they reach out to the company?
They can reach out to our emails for our VPIR. I want to say something. We've really been. I think I told you. We now know it's time. We put our heads down during the AMLO administration. We just did our work because it really didn't matter what you did. I can say nobody cared about Mexico. They were worried about it. The sentiment totally went away. You know that because you've been watching this closely. But we really ramped up. And we know now that we've been out there from, Beaver, to think about it since September, Beaver Creek, Denver Gold Show, the big show in New York. I went to one in Dubai, which was fascinating and amazing interest over there in silver. While I was there, my new VP of IR is where I'm going with this, Devin DeVaron, mining engineer, great marketing guy, had a big career in that in the past, been on the mountain for the last 5 years. I said, Devin, I need you. And I moved him to Toronto. So Devin's there now. And he basically went to New Orleans Gold Show while I was in Dubai. He's today in a 2-day conference in New York, and his schedule is full telling the story. I'm getting on a plane to London. The point is, we now have a real opportunity to tell this story, I think, just before a huge re-rating, if we're right. I think we are. So reach out to Devin. You can find him on the website. His email's there. He'll be there. Or if there's a question for me, send it to the same email address for our IR, and basically it'll get to me and I'll answer it. So, we're a pretty open book when it comes to communicating with shareholders. And if you want to be on our shareholders list, just let us know. We everything that goes out, we make sure we e-blast that. We got thousands on there now to all our shareholders, so they're up to date. Every interview, every press release, everything we do, you'll get, and it's a nice way to stay up to speed.
Good. All right. Well, look, I'm hoping we can bring people up to speed again when we see some permits, fingers crossed. So, Glenn, thank you very much for your time, and thank you everyone for joining.
Listen, thank you so much to everyone who's on the line. I really appreciate taking the time. We were quite a while, even though I can't, I don't think it's possible for me not to talk too much. I've been told that my whole life, especially by my wife. Peter, thank you also. And I'll see you next week. And you know what? If something does happen between now and Mines and Money, maybe you and I get together and do a little update of what we've seen, if anything, from London next week.
Agreed. Yeah, look, if permits are out next week, we'll do an interview and update everyone then.
Great.
Amazing.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.